On a misty morning by the edge of a tranquil lake, the world seemed to hold its breath in quiet anticipation. The water, smooth as glass and tinged with the soft hues of early light, stretched out beneath a sky brushed with pastel blues and grays. Along the bank, clusters of wildflowers nodded gently in the cool breeze, and reeds whispered secrets in the wind. It was a scene of pristine natural beauty, a place where life flowed in harmonious rhythms. Yet, amidst this serene setting, an unexpected tragedy had unfolded. Near the water's edge, half buried under a layer of tangled, debris-laden vegetation, lay an old fishing net. Time had worn it down, its fibers frayed and stiff, yet it retained the cruel ability to ensnare. Caught in this forgotten trap was a magnificent swan, its feathers as white as freshly fallen snow, now marred by the grime of distress. The swan struggled desperately, its elegant wings flapping in a futile bid for freedom. Each attempted movement only tightened the unyielding grip of the net around its wings and body. The swan's eyes, normally full of serene wisdom and quiet grace, shone with panic and sorrow. Every strained flutter sent ripples across the water, a silent cry that broke the delicate calm of the morning. The once graceful creature, symbol of purity and freedom, was now a figure of quiet agony, a victim of human neglect and the remnants of old, abandoned gear. Around the swan, the scene was heavy with the melancholy of nature's disruption. The net, a relic of a time when fishing was done with care, now lay as a stark reminder of past misdeeds. Its rough, tangled fibers contrasted sharply with the swan's soft plumage, creating an image of vulnerability and despair. The water around the trapped bird stirred gently, as if mourning the loss of its freedom, while the surrounding reeds swayed slowly in the breeze, bearing silent witness to the unfolding tragedy. In that poignant moment, the natural world seemed to pause, a delicate balance held in the grip of suffering. The lake, usually a mirror of calm beauty, now shimmered with the tension of the swan's struggle. Every ripple, every soft sigh of the wind through the trees, echoed a profound longing for liberation, setting the stage for a day that would demand compassion, courage, and the promise of rescue. Thus, as the sun began its slow ascent, casting golden rays that danced upon the rippling water, the tragic entrapment of the swan became a call, a quiet, desperate plea for help that would soon stir the hearts of those destined to come to its aid. As the first light of day began to filter through the gentle mist over the lake, the trapped swan's distress grew more pronounced. Every flutter of its powerful wings, now hindered by the cruel tangle of the old net, sent ripples across the still water, a quiet, desperate cry for liberation. The swan's eyes, normally deep pools of calm wisdom, shone with raw vulnerability as it strained against the constricting fibers. With each futile struggle, the net tightened further, its rough, weathered strands a stark reminder of human neglect that had intruded into this serene haven. The atmosphere around the swan was charged with a deep, silent plea. The once harmonious symphony of the lake was now punctuated by the soft, irregular beats of the swan's desperate attempts to free itself. The water, usually so smooth and reflective, churned gently as if empathizing with the bird's agony. Nearby, the reeds and wildflowers, unaware yet attentive, seemed to lean in, their rustling whispers carrying an unspoken message of sorrow and hope. Every element of nature, from the cool, dappled light to the lingering fog, played its part in highlighting the swan's struggle for freedom. In the quiet hours before rescue, time itself appeared to slow. The swan's silent pleas were not expressed in loud cries but in the steady, rhythmic beating of its wings against the unyielding net. Its every movement, though marred by pain, resonated with a powerful desire to soar once more over the tranquil lake. The bird's posture, stooped under the weight of the entanglement, told a story of resilience even in the face of overwhelming odds. Each strained effort was a testament to the swan's enduring spirit, a spirit that, despite its physical constraints, refused to yield to despair. As the morning advanced, the interplay of light and shadow over the water cast a poignant scene on the lake's surface. The swan, caught in this quiet struggle, became a living symbol of nature's fragility and strength. Its silent plea, though wordless, echoed deeply across the still expanse, reaching the far corners of the landscape and touching the hearts of all who might come to witness its plight. In that lingering moment, the swan's battle against the net was not merely a fight for survival, it was an evocative call for compassion and intervention, a cry that stirred the very soul of the natural world. Thus, in the tender embrace of a rising sun, the swan's silent plea resonated as a desperate hope for rescue, a hope that would soon be answered by the arrival of a compassionate soul, ready to confront the remnants of human carelessness and restore freedom to this majestic creature. As the swan's silent struggle reached a desperate crescendo, the tranquil lake was suddenly disturbed by a distant, determined step along its shoreline. A local wildlife rescuer, known in the community for their gentle heart and steadfast commitment to nature, has been alerted by the subtle signs of distress carried on the morning breeze. Wrapped in a weathered jacket and armed with a pair of sharp, reliable scissors and a first aid kit, the rescuer approached the water with quiet urgency. Kneeling on the damp bank, the rescuer surveyed the scene with focused compassion. The sight before them, a magnificent swan, its elegant form marred by the rough entanglement of an old net, spoke volumes about the unintended consequences of human neglect. With a few soft words of reassurance directed at the struggling bird, the rescuer waded carefully into the shallow water, mindful of every ripple that might startle the already agitated swan. The rescuer's hands moved with calm precision. First, they assessed the situation, noting the net's tangled fibers, the position of the swan's wings, and the subtle signs of fatigue in its eyes. Then, with deliberate care, they began snipping away at the stubborn net. Each cut was taken slowly and methodically, ensuring that the delicate feathers and the swan's powerful yet vulnerable wings would not suffer further injury. Throughout this process, the rescuer's soft murmurs and gentle touches created an atmosphere of trust, slowly coaxing the swan into a state of tentative calm. In that quiet exchange, the swan's eyes met the rescuer's, and a silent understanding passed between them, a promise that help had arrived, and that it was safe to let go of despair. The sound of the scissors, rhythmic against the backdrop of the lake's gentle lapping, was interspersed with the swan's soft, relieved sighs. With each careful snip, strands of the old net fell away, drifting downstream like discarded remnants of a past mistake. As the final knots were undone and the last fibers severed, the swan's struggle diminished, replaced by a growing sense of relief. Its wings, still trembling from the ordeal, began to unfurl in cautious gratitude. The rescuer, ever vigilant, continued to support the bird, gently massaging tender spots and ensuring that no stray fibers remained that could cause further harm. By the time the rescuer stepped back, the once trapped swan had been restored to a semblance of freedom. In that defining moment on the water's edge, human kindness had triumphed over neglect, a poignant reminder that even in nature's quiet moments of suffering, compassionate intervention can bring about renewal. The swan's eyes, glistening with the promise of regained strength, shone with silent thanks as it prepared to test its newly liberated wings. Thus, amid the gentle lapping of the lake and the soft rustle of reeds, the hero's arrival marked the turning point in the swan's harrowing ordeal, a moment when the call for help was met by a caring soul determined to restore the beauty and freedom of one of nature's most elegant creatures. For a moment, there was only stillness. The last strands of the coarse net floated away on the rippling lake like fading memories, drifting toward the reeds and disappearing beneath the surface. The swan, now free from its cruel binds, stood silently in the shallow water, as if unsure what to do with its newfound freedom. The soft morning sun peeked through the clouds above, casting a golden sheen across the water that sparkled like scattered stars. Nature itself seemed to exhale in quiet relief. The rescuer remained kneeling nearby, not rushing the swan, not urging it forward, but simply watching, present, and steady. Their eyes reflected both exhaustion and deep peace, a knowing that something beautiful had just taken place. The swan, still dazed from its ordeal, slowly turned toward the human figure, blinking softly. There was no fear now, only trust. That gaze between swan and rescuer was rich with meaning, with gratitude that words could never express. Then, with a slow, tentative stretch, the swan began to move. First, it shifted its weight onto one foot, then gently unfolded one wing, testing, feeling. The once trapped appendage, now free, fluttered softly before being fully extended, majestic and strong. The other wing followed. Though still a little weak and sore, the swan's body remembered its grace. With a quiet rustle of feathers and a final glance at the one who had saved it, the swan stepped deeper into the lake. A few powerful strokes of its legs, a sudden push of its wings against the wind, and the bird lifted from the water's surface in a flurry of droplets. For a brief, breathless second, it hovered, suspended in air and hope, and then it soared. The great swan flew low across the lake, its wings slicing through the sky, stirring the reeds below and sending ripples fanning outward like echoes of triumph. Every beat of its wings was a declaration, "I am free." The rescuer stood in awe, watching as the swan circled once overhead. Its elegant body curved in the morning light like a poem in motion. And then, as if to say thank you, the swan let out a single, resonant call, a haunting, melodic note that carried across the lake and lingered in the air. It was a sound of release, of gratitude, of life continuing. As the Swan disappeared into the sky, returning to its natural rhythm, the lake seemed to transform. What had just hours before been the stage for a quiet tragedy was now a sanctuary once more, restored and humming with peace. The reeds swayed gently again, no longer stiff with tension. Birds resumed their quiet songs, the breeze returned, and the surface of the water smoothed itself out like a freshly written page. The rescuer remained on the bank for a long while, their boots soaked, their hands still tingling with adrenaline, but their heart filled with something sacred. There was no crowd to cheer, no cameras or applause. Just a quiet victory between two living beings, one who gave hope, and one who chose to trust. And somewhere, just beyond the trees, the swan flew higher and farther, its silhouette glowing against the soft morning sun. A life saved. A moment remembered. A reminder that even in the smallest corners of the world, miracles are waiting, and sometimes, all it takes is one caring soul to answer the call. In the quiet aftermath of the rescue, as the lake returned to its gentle rhythm and the early morning light bathed the world in a soft, hopeful glow, a profound sense of renewal settled over the scene. The swan, now free and soaring in the wide expanse of sky, had become more than a symbol of survival, it embodied the timeless promise of second chances. The rescuer, still standing at the water's edge, watched as the swan disappeared into the horizon. In that lingering silence, memories of the swan's suffering merged with the vibrant beauty of its flight. Every detail of the ordeal, the tangles of the old net, the desperate struggles against fate, and the gentle, deliberate rescue was etched into the rescuer's heart as a reminder that even the most fragile lives can be restored with compassion and care. As the day unfolded, the local community began to stir with quiet admiration for the miraculous event. Neighbors, drawn by the soft hum of whispered stories and the shimmering reflection of hope across the water, gathered along the lake's edge. They exchanged words of wonder and gratitude, their voices mingling with the natural chorus of birds and rustling reeds. The incident, once a scene of quiet tragedy, had transformed into a shared moment of collective healing, a beacon that reignited their faith in the inherent goodness of both nature and humanity. Inspired by what they had witnessed, local volunteers organized a small memorial by the lake. They cleaned the banks, carefully removed remnants of discarded nets and debris, and planted wildflowers to honor the swan's renewed freedom. A simple plaque was erected beneath a graceful willow tree, its soft leaves whispering tales of resilience and rebirth to all who passed by. The plaque's inscription spoke of a day when nature's beauty was momentarily marred but ultimately restored by the compassionate actions of a single rescuer, a day that reminded everyone that miracles often come in the quietest, most unassuming forms. Later that afternoon, the rescuer, now a humble guardian of the lake's fragile balance, joined community members at a small gathering. Over cups of warm tea and gentle conversation, they reflected on the delicate interplay of human error and nature's enduring strength. Many expressed their desire to work together to prevent such tragedies in the future, pledging to be more mindful of the remnants left behind by careless hands and to protect the creatures that call the lake home. For the rescuer, the experience was both a solemn responsibility and an enduring source of inspiration. Every flutter of the swan's wings, every shimmering ripple on the lake, became a quiet reminder that every life has value, and that sometimes, a single act of kindness can spark a chain reaction of hope. The story of the rescued swan soon spread beyond the immediate community, touching hearts far and wide and rekindling a broader conversation about conservation and compassionate stewardship of the natural world. As dusk approached and the sky shifted to soft twilight hues, the lake settled into a peaceful lull. The swan's graceful silhouette could still be seen gliding effortlessly across the water, a living testament to liberation and the transformative power of empathy. And beneath the gentle glow of the evening star, those who had witnessed the day's miracles carried forward a renewed commitment to care for their world, knowing that in every challenge, there exists the possibility of renewal, and in every act of rescue, a promise of new beginnings.